It seems your mic is off. Right.
All right, thank you. I'm live right now. Good evening to you all, and welcome to the fourth session of the workshop today. My name is Adewale Olashopo, and I'll be moderating the session today. So first off, I want to appreciate the presence of our tutor, Mr. Tefa, is here live with us this evening to do what he knows how to do best and make sure that you all are well tutored and are well prepared for the task ahead. So then I proceed to welcome you all as well, all our correspondents and our campus reporters to this evening class. I am happy to join you this evening, and I'm sure you all are ready to learn. As we've done so far from the first session to the second to the third, now the fourth session, I'm sure there are lots of things that you must have learned from the facilitator and the mentor so far. And these are things that will aid and guide you in your reporting in the coming weeks when we begin to do things in earnest. So I would appreciate you all if you all follow the protocols that we've laid down from the beginning, from the first session that we've had. You listen to the tutor make his to deliver his lecture. Then after that we can have the question and answer session where you all get to ask your questions and they will be answered. And for those that their questions will not be answered, subsequently it will be responded to on your WhatsApp and or your email account. So that is the program for today. And I welcome you once again, and do well to remember that there is a form for you to fill for your attendance. It's mandatory that you fill that. So far, it's been reiterated that attendance is one of the prerequisites for you to participate in this project, and also attendance in this lecture that we're having today is very important. And aside that, the attendance on online where you fill the form. So thank you once again, and I'll yield the mic to Mr. Tefa for him to begin the class.
Thank you very much, Adewale. Am I right?
Yes, you're
Thank
correct.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity once again. Um, we began the first session with introduction to mass media, and then we proceeded to social media and other social media applications and their functions, and we moved to media code of ethics to media law. Before I proceed, the human resource manager has always informed the trainees to always use their names as they appear on their original documents. So those that are using names that don't correspond with names on their original documents should effect that correction on this platform so that the attendance will be in line with their original names and not nicknames that are being used. So they should also take note. And practicals or news production or coverage will begin uh, after the sixth session or so. So they should also be prepared that they will be tasked with the responsibility of producing news. So they should put whatever they are learning, they should take whatever they are learning now very seriously, because media work, journalism requires practical. As you learn the theoretical aspect of media, you have to practicalize it by going to your various beats or going to the field to do the work. Today, in this session, we'll be looking at news production process. News production process. It's very important that news production process should be understood. Uh, Despite the fact that there are many media platforms, media organizations, and media types, we have the radio, television, newspaper, online. All these media platforms use the same process of news production, which is the process begins with the production, production, and post production. They may have their peculiarities, but they all have the general process. Newspaper production follow the same process. Radio news production, television news production, and online news production. They all follow the process of pre-production, production, and post-production. As the following session comes up, we'll be looking specifically how newspaper news production is being done, radio news production, TV news production, and online news production, where certain terms in relation to radio, TV, newspaper, online would be used. But for this session, I'm going to generalize the production because every media platform follow these patterns, follow this process of news production. First is the pre-production stage of news production. We have the production stage of news production, and then we have the post-production stage of news production. Now, what is news? What is news? There are various definitions of news, but news involves the coverage of current events, dissemination of current events, dissemination of events surrounding issues on social life, religion, marriage, economy, and so on. It involves giving details of events and putting the event the way they occur. In news, you don't distort the story. News comes original. It's not distorted. If something happens, you need to give it the way it happens. That's the reason we went further by talking about media code of ethics, objectivity, objectivity, fairness. So news is giving information as they happen, informing people about certain events, giving the current situation of activities, where they occur, how they occur, those involved in the occurrence of such activities. The essence of news is to inform. News inform. Mass media plays the role of informing, educating, and entertaining. So news gives information about activities. It informs the audience that is made up of homogeneous and heterogeneous audiences about the occurrences, things that happen around them. But before this news is being transmitted, disseminated, or published, as the case may be, pre-production, production, and post-productions are carried out for it to get to the audiences. Now, in the pre-production process of news, it deals with the first step of trying to get news. Before news is being obtained, there must be a first step. How should a media organization go about getting news? That is the pre-production. The editorial team meets, they decide on areas of coverage, what aspects of news should be covered for the bulletin of the day, because every day has bulletin and it must be planned because today's news may have different stories. Yesterday news had different stories. Tomorrow news will have different stories. It may not always be the same. There will be different events occurring. So the editorial team meets and then try to see how they can send reporters to various beats and discuss areas of concern, areas of coverage where areas that are essential for the report to be received to form the day's bulletin. It has to do with research, news gathering, news writing can only happen when you have acquired the needed information. What are you covering? Are you covering activities in the government house? Are you covering activities in the judiciary? Are you covering activities in agriculture? If you are assigned to government house, that is the bit you are covering. If you are assigned to cover issues in the judiciary or judicial proceedings, that is the bit you are covering. The assigning of reporters to these bits is part of pre-production because people are assigned, reporters are assigned. Some reporters specialized in judicial reporting, some specialize in sport, some entertainment. So whenever activities are to be carried out in these areas, they are assigned to their areas of specialization. Some have in-depth knowledge or the profundity in these areas. So they are assigned to those bits so that they will be able to give news intensively, to give news in a more professional way. Because professions have their vocabulary, have their register. There are certain words that must be used. You know, when you are reporting news in the aviation sector, there are key terms that are used. Talk about the cockpit requiring the plane, the airplane. You talk about the pilot, the co-pilot. You talk about the tarmac, the runway. These are terms when you're reporting. So as a journalist reporting from any beat, you must be conversant with the terms, the terminology used in that kind of beat. So all these things are under the pre-production state. You are able to do your research to get the way the report should be gathered, the way this information should be gathered to enable you write a story that will be professionally written. So a reporter is supposed to understand the beat assigned to. That is why this training is to inform, is to educate, to train you on how to carry out report from field. Before you report, you must be conversant with the area you are reporting. You need to ask questions. You need to be knowledgeable so that when you are writing, you will write in lines with the terminology of that profession. It won't go against. So the pre-production requires researching, and then having it also requires having the materials ready, having whatever equipment, gadget, or tool you are going to use ready. You put them in check. You ensure that everything you are going to use in the news gathering process is in order. And then you need to also ensure that the area of coverage, you are able to get information of how the area is. Is it an area that is violence prone? Is it an area that has certain issues that should be tackled? All these things fall under pre-production. So you need to ensure that everything is in order. You need to ask questions. You need to make necessary findings. You need to put certain things under check. You need to check your tools, equipment that will be used in the news gathering process. You need to ensure that what the vehicle that will be used or the automobile that will be used to the bits where the news will be gathered, everything that is required is in order before you can now go to the bit where the news gathering process will begin properly. One thing about news production, the moment you get to your bit to begin the news uh, gathering process, you need to ask questions. You need to ask questions to elicit answers from interviewees. Because if you don't ask questions, you will not be able to get answers. And you need to ask questions that are very important, not just anyhow question. If you go to cover any event, any conference, any meeting, at the end of the meeting, interviews should be conducted. maybe the host or the guest speaker or some of the contributors should be asked questions why the event is important and why they feel that people should key into their idea or ideology. That goes into the process of news production. What you are gathering on the field, you are already producing the news. The interview that is done is news production. The news, the still photograph that has been taken, the recordings that are taken, both audio and video recordings that are being done, all that are news production. You are doing the news production by capturing shots where necessary and recording where necessary, and then writing what should be written where necessary, that we make up the story. Now, in the news production process, where you are on the beat to gather news, when you're on the beat to get information, you record as many things as possible. You take as many information as possible, because if a story is supposed to be 3 minutes, a story is supposed to be 4 minutes, or whatever time a story is supposed to be, or a program, you need not to do that at the production stage. At the production stage, you need to get the event as it is. You need to cover the event, not minding if the story is going to last for just 3 or 4 minutes. You need to take the introductory aspect of the event, maybe the arrival of the guest speaker and other delegates or dignitaries at the event, and then the presentation of a speech at the event, and then the side reactions of our guests at the event, and then maybe other contributors, how what they said at the event. You take note, and then at the end of the event, some interviews are being conducted. All these are in the production stage of the news. Now, the post-production. Post-production happens when you have finished the production process. You take what you have gathered, what you have obtained, the audio, the recordings, the videos, you take to the studio or you take to the newsroom, where you begin to rewrite, to edit, to compress. That is when you edit stories in the newspaper. You edit to fit into a particular page. Maybe a page is not supposed to be more than particular words. So you need to ensure that whatever you have written goes into the page or the column required for that. If it is radio news, you know that you have a time. Maybe a news is supposed to be 3 minutes or 2 minutes plus, and you have recorded a story of up to 30 minutes or 15 minutes. How can you edit the story to make it to this time? So that is when the essential aspects are being listened to and the non-essential ones are being removed, because there are most important aspect of an event that must reflect in your report. So you have to take that into consideration so that you will be able to edit and then put it to fit into the time required. Because if a bulletin is going to be 45 minutes, maybe each story has time given to it. Maybe a story that you covered in government house, maybe 3 minutes, a story in the aviation, maybe 2 minutes, some 3 minutes and some seconds, as the case may be. So in the end, the post-production will now edit, will now edit the report, the story. Post-production is a very important aspect of news because it helps the media organization to ensure that the the the, the national broadcasting code is being adhered to. At the post-production, if there are things that are not appropriate during the production, it can be removed, edited. Maybe during the production, the reporter covered certain things that are against the National Broadcasting Code. There are certain speeches that are defamatory or can incite violence in an event. Maybe out of anger, certain things were being said, and you happen to record such. During the post-production stage, the video or the audio is being listened to, the video is being watched, and any aspect of the report of the news that has any speech or visuals that can cause problem or is not morally right or can amount to libel, to slander, or defamation, it is edited out. That is where editors of media organization must be people who are professionals in the area, because you need to know these things, because the reporters go to the beat, they get the news stories. When they come back, they write, the recordings are done, the editings are done, then the final dissemination of the news must align with the media code of ethics. And then the media law must also be adhered to. That is why it is very important that editors should be people who are professional, because they are the ones that are the gatekeepers of media organizations. The post-production, anything that is left out of the post-production affects the media if it is negatively left. That is the reason post-production is an aspect that must be taken very seriously. The editor or the news producer must ensure, or the news editor must ensure that the content are being checked. There are reports of media organizations being slammed with fines of various degrees due to transmission of contents that were against the code of ethics. Some were against were against media law. They have some infringement on rights of certain individuals. We have AIT was once slammed 2 point something million before, and then Arise TV and a lot more. So when editors of uh, events, when editors of media organizations decide to allow events to be disseminated without editing the content properly, it affects the reputation of the media organization. So the news production process, from pre-production, pre-production, production, and post-production, are processes that must be followed for news to be packaged in a manner that will be disseminated appropriately. Will be disseminated appropriately. Uh, this is the general way of news production covering all media organization. The issue is each of these media platforms have their unique way of news gathering, news writing, and news production. Since this training is a training that is required to give intensive information on this issue, the radio news production, television news production, newspaper news production, and online news production will be treated independently so that it will be in depth, because during such sessions there will be a kind of demonstration. There will be demonstration of how the radio, TV, television is being carried out. There will be illustrations that will be linked to their operations, to how they are carried out effectively, and then the terms required, the editing software required for editing them, the radio, the TV, how are they edited, how are they done. how should the rushes be transferred to the system for editing? What type of editing software is required? So that is when it will be done in depth. This one is the general production process. It covers every media organization. Every media organization must follow this process. There's no way you can skip and then expect to have a successful or to have an impressive or impactful news production. Because if the pre-production is not there, then how can you do the production? If the production is not there, then what will you have to edit? How can the post-production work? So the three must be there to function. You can do the pre-production, but if you don't do the production, you stop at that stage. And one thing again is that in doing this, reporters must always ensure that they go early to their respective base. It is very important. If an event is to take place by 9, a reporter is supposed to be there 8:30 at most, or maybe 8, because there are some events or some side attractions or some activities that may happen that may be newsworthy. So being early to an event can give you opportunity to get more news that may not be originally planned for. You know, at times the editorial team sits and decides that okay, today we'll go to government house, cover an event there. The governor is visiting a particular local government to be covered. This activity is happening here, you cover and all that. So in the course of going to cover these stories, you may come across another story that will still be meaningful and will be required. So those aspects are supposed to be taken into consideration so that you'll be able to get news to inform the audiences. It is very important that reporters keep to time. As reporters, we are not supposed to be late. All these things are under the pre-production stage. You need to adhere to time. You need to ensure that you go to events as early as possible so that you will be able to get more than enough information. It will be very bad if a reporter goes to an event late and is unable to get first-hand information. Then you are asking others what happened, what did the first speaker say, that you didn't come on time, you didn't meet the event from the beginning. Because second-hand information, in most cases, is being distorted. The person giving you may not give you the exact way that the speaker said. The person may add one or two things or remove one or two things from the information. And then you may end up giving a story that is not in order. So it's good to be there. Journalists should be there to get first-hand information. There are some situations where interview may be required, but you should also be there to see things yourself and write stories yourself. There are some situations that second-hand information may require, like an accident scene. If an accident occurred and you are called to go to the place and cover, since you weren't there to see how the accident occurred, you cannot write anything based on how you feel. You need to interview people. The eyewitnesses will tell you how it occurred. Interview those who were there and saw how the accident happened. They will tell you, and then from there you write a story. So there are situations where a reporter may not have to be there to get the information. You need to ask, but you don't ask just one person. You need to ask two or three persons to be sure the information is accurate. Because when you just ask one person and you write a story, you may write what is not appropriate. But when you ask one, two, three, four persons, and their answers are conflicting, you'll be able to dig more to be sure that you get the right information. If four persons give you different information about one event, then it means something is not right. So you need to go deeper to find out what exactly happened. That you have met four, interviewed four persons, and they couldn't give you the same information. The four giving different statements from one incident. So A reporter needs to understand this very well, because once you have this at the back of your mind, you will be able to be organized so that you will give a good report. When a report is not given the way it should be, it will actually create doubt in the minds of the viewers, the audiences. They will be doubting the authenticity and the credibility of the media organization, especially if the report is something that is generally accepted or ignored, but the report is going the contrary way. It is going contrary to that, when there are facts that shows that what is being reported is not in line with the reality on ground. So reporters must try to protect the integrity of the media organization they work for by ensuring they ask questions during the production stage. That is where you do the recordings, you do interviews, you do all that. You need to ask questions and get appropriate answers. In the course of asking questions, there may be follow-up questions, because when you ask an interviewee a question, the person will give an answer that will require a follow-up question that may not be planned to be asked initially. So sensitive reporters should take note of answers that give room for follow-up questions. You will ask someone something. Some reporters may have questions in mind to ask, but the answers from the interviewee may require you to ask follow-up questions that will help you get more answers to the subject matter or to the information. So that is the reason reporters have to be well equipped with the knowledge required in news gathering, news production, news post-production level, so that they will be able to harness everything required to project the media organization in good light. When you watch news being transmitted, when you watch news how it's being produced, you see that reporters on the beat, the presenter in the studio will give an opening and will tell you Mr. Mark has the rest of the story, or Mr. Mark will give the complete report. And then the interviewee will also comes in, because the post production gives room for all the errors committed to be corrected. Post production, I'm emphasizing on post production because any mistake that is made during the post production will make or mar the media organization. The post production, if the visuals are not too good, then there should be a way to work on, to add brightness if they're not too bright, or is it color, or to, I don't know, audible enough, maybe to try to see how you can increase the audibility so that it will be okay. Because once it is not good enough, the audiences may tune to another station. Somebody may be watching a particular station, and once they see that it's not giving the color, it's not bright enough, the audio is poor, then they will switch to the next station. There are many stations that are there. So you must ensure that everything is done right at the post-production level, so that once it is being transmitted, it gives the audiences what they want. It makes the audiences to have uh, to have faith to believe in the station. When you see the way stations like Channels TV carry out their news report, you will so much admire how organized the reporters are, those on the beat and those in the studio. You see that their pre-production uh, process is very okay. The production process is fine, and the post-production too. So to understand or to know if the pre-production, post-production, production, and post-production are carried out effectively is from the way the news is being disseminated. You can see if the dissemination will be very clean. You see that it's loud, audible enough, and then you see that the contents too are very okay. So news production process is very, very important because without the process, news cannot be produced. Without the process, there will be no news for anybody to listen, to watch, or to read. And this process can only be completed and can only be effectively completed and make the desired impact if those who are knowledgeable, if those who have the competence to do this are involved. That is the reason journalism is a profession that requires you know this. You know it. The fact that someone knows how to write or someone knows how to talk well, someone has a good command of English language, has a good command of spoken and written English is not enough to become a journalist. There are other characteristics that must be met. There are other qualities that must be developed to become a journalist. The pre-production stage means journalists have to work on themselves. Pre-production requires that is what should be done before the production takes place. That is what it means. Pre-production. What should be put in order. Journalists must be people who are soft-hearted. They don't have to be getting angry unnecessarily. There are some persons that when you ask them too much questions, they get angry at you. As a journalist, you're supposed to be calm to elicit information from people, from interviewees. So you shouldn't get provoked because you ask someone to tell you something and the person refuses. That should not make you to talk anyhow or walk away angrily. You need to calm down and try to see how you can get the necessary information from somebody. There are some information that one may get off recordings, maybe off audio or off video. So once you are able to get that, it will help you to know how to go about getting the recordings and the videos done. There are some things that you first ask certain questions off camera. You try to find out certain information during the pre-production stage. You are going to a place to ask to do an interview. You need to some persons go there first and know the terrain, try to find out is this place safe for this event to take place. Can we go to the place and come back safely? And try to meet elders and ask that this event that we're coming to cover in some days, what is the situation here? The security here okay? Who are the organizers and all that. Times you need to ask certain questions and be able to get the necessary information to go and prepare well for the coverage. So all these things happen during pre-production. Well, journalists must know the techniques to apply, the way they should move about ensuring that they get the necessary information required. Like I said in the previous sessions, that a journalist is not supposed to be assuming. I thought it would be like this. I felt. I know you're not supposed. A journalist is supposed to ask questions to know. You need to find out. Curiosity should be another name for journalists. Should be curious to know things. Ask. satisfactory questions. Ask questions to get satisfactory answers. Ensure that you have gotten the answers that you want. In the pre-production stage, there are rooms for that to ask questions, to know certain things, know certain personalities, know about them, know their whereabouts, where they stay, where should we go for the interview? Should it be in your house, in the office, or how do you want it to be? This all happens during a pre-production. Before you conduct an interview with somebody, you need to ask the person. You need to speak with the person, meet the person and talk. If you can't meet, you can talk on phone and tell the person you want to conduct an interview with him or her on so time on a particular subject matter. When will it be convenient? Or if the media organization has a fixed a time or a particular time for a particular program, you can discuss with the person. Want you to come to our studio? uh, this is a studio presentation. We need you by 8, 9, as the case may be. You need to do this during the pre-production stage. You need to seek the consent of the person, talk to the person. If the person feels they will be available, they will let you know that, okay, I'm going to be around. Then if the person feels that, well, I won't be available, I can give the report from home, from office, to connect with the studio. You can also take that. So all what is being seen on TV, where interviews are done from the offices, connect from studio to the office, or from workplace to the or at home to the studio and all that. Before that is done, the guest or the interviewees are being contacted. They are being told that they will be needed to contribute on a particular program on a particular day and time. So will they be available to be there? And then they will now say, well, they will. If they will not. They will still let the station to know. So all these things happen during the pre-production. So pre-production is a very, very important stage of news production too. It helps to put the necessary things together to keep the production process going. Pre-production is like a foundation. When you are building a house, you need to put a foundation before you build. So pre-production is like putting the foundation. Production is like building a house. Post-production is like roofing the house. So the post-production is the finish as the post-production is the finished aspect of news. The production is like putting the body of the house. The pre-production is laying the foundation. So if you can remember this illustration, you understand the importance of pre-production, production, and post-production in news production process, putting the foundation of the house, building the body, and then roofing it. So this news production process must be followed for any media organization to excel. Without it, there will be no news. Without it, there will be no program. And without it, then there will be no essence of the station being in existence in the first place. Because news is the major reason why media organization came on board before other things came uh, to fall in place. So without news, then the media organization cannot be able to live up to its responsibility of informing the audiences. That is why you see the three basic obligation of the media is to inform, is to educate, and to entertain. The education aspect didn't come first, and the entertainment aspect didn't come first. It is the information, informing. That is news. You get information from news story. So that is the reason news production process is very important to be understood. So subsequently, in subsequent session, we'll treat these media platform separately, like radio, TV, newspaper, and online, because they have different way of writing, and then they have a different way of communication. Because radio it deals with audio only, while TV is audio visual, and the newspaper is print, and then online too embraces these media on a platform on it as well. So next subsequent sessions we'll look at this aspect in details, and then we'll talk about the production process for this, the newspaper, how is it produced, how is the content being laid, how is the layout done for production. And then we look at the radio. We look at radio production, news production, and television. The software required. How is the recording done? And then how is it harmonized? How is it edited to form the bulletin for the day? How is it done? Then which software is being used? What equipment required to achieve this? So subsequent session will look at this aspect in depth before we move forward to speech development for news broadcasting. Thank you very much. If there are questions, they can be asked.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tefa, for that impressive and educative presentation. And of course, I must agree with you that your analogy itself is quite impressive, using the erection of a building as an example, the foundation of it itself, the erecting the body, and of course, what completes it, the roofing and putting aesthetic look to it at the end. And I hope listeners trainees are also listening and getting this analogy, which will allow them to remember all that you said in earnest. And I also implore them that they should as well, from all the information that they've been given today, they should as well go ahead to get more information, because the essence of this training is to give them a foundation of what is to be expected. And that alone cannot be achieved with this training. While you're doing so much, that cannot be denied, but other people have to take up the responsibility themselves to also improve on what has been taught here in the group. So now, thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. Tefa. And as tradition, we would allow for people to ask questions if they have them. And I should also remind you for the trainees and the correspondents that they should follow us on all our social media platform, and also on YouTube, follow our page. That's the essence. You're here. You're supposed to grow the page and our viewership. That's the essence of you joining us, and that is where your responsibility starts. That you must show an example of what you want others to be going forward. So thank you, sir. And please, if you have any question, do well to send them to us so we can have Mr. Tefa attend to them before he leaves. All right, we have this from Obioma Joy. Joy said, you mentioned on the previous class that we do not distort news. Doesn't editing break this rule? Did you get the question, Mr. Tefa?
Yes, I have. Yes. Okay, yeah. Yes, I got the question. Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. Is it Obioma Joy? Yeah, Obioma Joy. That's a wonderful question. Um, distorting, distorting is moving away from the original. This when something is being distorted, it is being reduced from the original quality. It is being adulterated. Something that has been distorted is no more original. Just like you have kerosene, or you have fuel, original fuel, and then you decide to pour a particular chemical into that. You have adulterated it. Now this distortion talks about the originality of a story. Editing doesn't distort it, because the editor, who is the gatekeeper of a media organization, will have to look at it and see that it meets the National Broadcasting Guideline or Code of Ethics. So the editing is not to distort the originality of the story. The editing is to bring the news story to meet up to the standard required by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, before it is being transmitted. So that if there are defamatory statements that were made or statements that can be subjected to libel or slander or sedition, the editor will remove those statements or videos or audios and then ensure that the final report does not contain them, but the news story, the main aim of the report is there. If the report is talking about the governor's visit to IDP camps and giving support, trying to give support, and there are some side attractions that will cause violence, it will be edited. That is not distortion. It is editing it to be of standard. But the main story is being reported. So that is what happens.
All right, thank you for responding to that. Now we move on to the next question from Samuel. It said, since this is the general way in which news is being produced, my question, how do you edit a live news, like breaking news? I believe you got it,
All right.
Tefa.
Yes, I've seen somewhere. Thank you. Yes, I got it. I got it. Thank you. You say live news. Live news. It is not all breaking news that can be covered live. When you talk about live news mostly deals with the event as it is happening. Then you are covering it the way it is occurring. That is mostly live news. A breaking news, a breaking news can happen 5 minutes and it will be reported as breaking news. So it may not be classified as being live because assuming that someone dies 5 minutes after the person's death, it is being announced, or 6 minutes or 30 minutes can still be breaking news, but there's no live coverage of the person's death there. So breaking news may not necessarily be classified as live news coverage. Now, live news is you cannot edit uh, a live report from the studio in terms of grammatical errors. The only editing that can be done may be the use of various cameras. If a live event is to happen somewhere, maybe the swearing in of a governor or president or an activity, and then the outside broadcast van is taken, OB van is taken, and then there are 6 cameras placed, or 4, or 3, 4, as the case may be. There will be a camera, a mixer that will be used. So instantaneous editing is what happens at that time. It will be based on shot. The editing is live editing is based on shots. That is, there will be a central camera and then there will be other cameras, cam 1, cam 2, cam 3. So assuming a particular action is going on cam 1 that may not be good enough, it can be switched to cam 2 to move away from what cam 1 was capturing that is not in line with the National Broadcasting Commission code, or is not morally right. So that is the only way live editing can be said to be done, by switching from one cam to the other and then trying to move away from certain activities which one camera may be live on air, and then you can switch off to the next one so that it won't transmit an activity within that area that may constitute these things I have said, such as sedition, defamation, libel, and the rest. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And I need to remind our correspondents that there's a form for you to fill for your attendance. It's very important, in fact, imperative for you to fill the form to show that you participate in this training today. And if we can go through the next question, Mr. Tiff, I understand that we are almost behind time, but there's still a couple of questions to be answered. If we could run through them very quickly. So the next one is
All
from
right.
Central Edges. Is one supposed to carry out the pre-production, production, and post-production alone?
Yes. Uh, Thank you for the question. Central Edges. Um, Production as it is, news production as it is a teamwork. It's a teamwork. That is the reason you have uh, people on the beat, you have reporters on the beat, you have the editors, you have the the engineers, you have the technicians, and they come together to ensure that the pre-production, production, and post-production goes on smoothly. Uh, the issue of pre-production, post-production, I mean pre-production, production, and post-production being done by one person. That is, this can only be possible for an online report that has a page. Maybe one has a news page or a news platform online. You can go and interview people. You can come back. You can write the story. That is, you are producing the news. You write the story. You can edit the story and post online. This is an exceptional situation where an individual can carry out the pre-production, production, and post-production. You go out, gather the news, come, write, edit it, and put on the page or your blog or another online platform or other online platform. Individual can do that. But when it comes to newspaper and production, radio news production, television news production, no individual can do that alone. It must be a teamwork. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, sir. Now we move on to the next question from Mohammed Sani. It says, Mr. Tefa, please, is there anything called audience analysis or audience research before pre-production?
All right. Thank you. Mohammed Sani, thanks for the question. Yes, there is audience analysis or audience research. There is something like that before pre-production. Audience research depends on a lot of factors. One, if you want to do a program, audience research mostly deals with program production. What program will the audience like? You do an audience research to get uh, the program production. Would they like sports program? Would they like education program? Would they like documentary programs? So such can be done to get what the audience would prefer to watch. Most stations, when they put certain programs, the viewership or the listenership or the readership is not that much. You discover that programs have different degree of viewership, listenership, or readership based on audience interest. So audience research helps a media organization to know the kind of programs that the audience want, to know the kind of programs that can be produced to keep the audience happy and make them to be glued to the station. So in most cases, audience research deals with the program production, although news is also a program. But mostly it deals with maybe religious programs, education programs, children programs, and all that. Then audience research too may give the impression of the station. How do the audience view this station? Is the station meeting its obligation? Is the station producing impressive programs? Is the station news dissemination okay? Is it fair? Is their news fair, biased, or like that? So you can also do kind of audience research to get their opinion of a particular station, if they are being biased with their reportage or being fair, so that the station can improve on that. So audience research analysis is important and is being done in stations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tefa. Let's go to our last question for today from John Regina. Is it possible for a live news to be defamatory? And if yes, how can we avoid anything defamation in live broadcasting?
Thank you very much for that. During live programs, uh, it is expected that the anchor of the program or the presenter must be careful in the manner in which the guest or the interviewee is being handled in the studio, because most defamatory statements that are made live, you see that the station is also being fined for allowing that to happen. Once a guest appears in the studio or anywhere where the live transmission is going on and start saying things that are defamatory, the presenter or the anchor has the power to stop the person from talking. You need to move away from that. And if the person insists on saying such things, the station can cut such programs short. Because by allowing the person to air whatever defamatory statement, the station will be held accountable. The station will be fined because the person used your platform to say such defamatory statement. So the person may have their penalty as well, but the station will not be spared, because if the station didn't avail the person the platform, such defamatory statement wouldn't have been made to the audience or to the public awareness. So it is the responsibility of the station to control guests, how they talk, and any guest that wants to go against that, the anchor of the program has the right to halt the program transmission to save the station from uh, any blame. So if the person insists, then the technical team of the studio can move away from the live coverage and move into something else. And then that may just end to be a short-lived program for the day. I think that is how it will be done to save the station from sanctions by the National Broadcasting Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tefa, for doing justice to that question. I understand we have many more questions, but in fact, we cannot go into that today. Apologies for all our correspondents who have listened carefully to your lecture and are willing to ask you to share more light on that. We're going to be forwarding all the questions that we have here to Mr. Tefa. When he responds to them, we're going to be sharing it on our WhatsApp platform. And I must remind the correspondents that there is a form for you to fill today to show that you're attending this lecture. It is here on the pinned comment, and you have to fill that while this program is going on. And also, coming up is our fifth workshop, the fifth session of this lecture, of this training, I beg your pardon. And after the fifth workshop, you will be required, I'm speaking to the correspondents now and the neighborhood reporters, you'll be required to send in your videos or the things you've recorded or whatever it is you've covered in your neighborhood or your campus to show that you've actually been following the class all through our first session to the fifth, which is coming up soon. And for those that still have many questions, you can still send them in. And also, do not forget to uh, follow us on all our social media platforms, like I reiterated. Like I said earlier, I must reiterate again that it is important to follow us on all our social media platforms. That's one of the criteria that we're going to be using to judging you. You're here to build the platform, and your responsibility starts from there. And for those of you who still have many questions, it should show or should tell from your action that you should be proactive in your objective decision making. We cannot all give you everything that you need. You must also be able to build up yourself, take proactive measures, go online, research, get necessary information, and once you come back, we can always tailor you to the right aspect. Thank you so much for listening to all our correspondents and neighborhood reporters. And thank you so much, Mr. Tefa, for this program today. It's been wonderful so far, and we cannot wait to have you coming Saturday
Thank
at
you.
11 a.m. I hope we see you then. And this is where we draw the curtain
Yes.
today. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
From Ecstasy TV, live in the studio, I am Adewale Olashopo, and bye for now.